Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Coach's Corner. Today, it is the first time that we will be sitting down with a high school coach. Todd Fitz-Gerald is the head coach of the Stoneman Douglas Eagles in Parkland, Florida. Their team is ranked number 3 in the country right now, and they have a ton of accolades, which we'll kind of run through. Coach Fitz, what is happening, brother?
How you doing, Josh? Thanks for having me on today, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, congrats. First of all, you guys are number 3, I believe, in the country. Is that right? I don't want to short you.
To be honest with you, last we looked, it was 3 or 4, and then there's so many publications. So I think we're like 4 and 1, 10 and another, 7 and 1. So it's at the end of the day, it don't matter.
Yeah, you got to win the last one. That's all that really matters, I guess, right?
Yeah, sure.
You have 2 national titles, 2 state titles, 2 National Coach of the Year awards. You have had a bunch of big leaguers come through your systems. What are you doing different that produces those kind of kids and that kind of success?
I just think we're really good on developing guys. From when they come in as freshmen to when they leave as seniors. I think that I coach the JV too. So I think those guys, teaching them the system young, teaching them the same terminology young, the things that we do young, and being there and letting them know that I have a vested interest in them moving forward. I think that helps our program, and stability in your coaching staff, right? I think I've been very lucky. I've got really good stability in my coaches. I don't have a lot of turnover, and guys have been with me for years. So I think those 2 things really equate to the success that we've had, and obviously good players,
I know that Hosmer has been through you, Lizardo, Welker, Rizzo, some big names that I know I am forgetting. What set those guys aside back when you had them, before kind of today's age of players? What made them unique?
Just the way they went about their business. You didn't have to really tell them much. They were self-motivated, never had to really get on them about doing things. Always took care of their responsibilities. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about on-field stuff, right? I'm talking about at the end of practice. You never had to tell them to grab a rake. You never had to tell them to get to class on time. You never had to tell them do the right thing on the weekend. They always seemed to understand and know what was right and what they wanted to do in their life. So I think for them, it was just keeping them on a straight and narrow, and just making sure they didn't screw up outside the field. But as far as the whole coaching, but yeah, I'm sure I've helped them along the way, but at the end of the day, they're good because God made them that way.
How are today's top tier players different from the top tier players that you saw early in your career?
Well, I think today we're living in a me society. So everything is about me, not the team. And I think, I'm sure we'll talk about travel ball later, but I think that's getting in the way of the high school. When I was in high school, you played more than one sport. You played for the pride of your school, and you wanted to win a state championship for your school, right? Nowadays, with the recruiting process, kids are getting committed in the 8th and 9th grade, which I think is totally ridiculous. It's making these kids have to specialize at an early age and pick one sport that they want to put all their eggs in a basket in. So they really don't get the enjoyment of the entire high school experience, where, I was at American Heritage for 16 years, and I coached football for 16 years, and I had my baseball guys, not all of them, but a lot of them played football. They were multi-sport athletes, and being their coach, not only on the baseball field, but on the football field too, making them more well-rounded athletes. And I think that's what we're missing today a little bit. And, it's me. And, if a parent's not happy, he's going to jump to the next travel team, or he's going to jump to the next school. And if the kid's not happy and he's not playing, instead of competing for a job, he's going to jump to the next school. And the loyalty factor is pretty much gone. But I fault the parents for that.
So the talent is pretty much the same. It's just kind of the personality and the culture behind the talent that has changed mostly.
I think that the talent is kind of in the high school setting, in the public school setting, it's kind of gone a little bit to the wayside, because now you got all these academies opening up where these parents are being sold on a pipe dream, come train with us, 7 days a week, do homeschooling. And again, you lose your entire high school experience, whether the prom, the homecoming, the powder puff, the just the camaraderie of going to support other teams, whether it's volleyball or basketball or football on Friday nights. Kids are missing that because they're specializing, and they all think they're going to be big leaguers. And 7%, 7% of high school baseball players get to play college baseball. So it's a very small number.
So I definitely want to jump into some of the things that you're touching on right now. Before we do that, Stoneman Douglas obviously is not known for the baseball team necessarily when they should be. There was a tragedy there a few years ago, and that's what the name gained recognition for, when in all actuality there is a ton of talent, clubs, and your club teams, your intramural teams, your athletic teams. Unfortunately, you guys dealt with a tragedy. You were really on the front lines of that, and the story is incredibly sad. I don't want to get so much into that as how it changed you as a coach, because I was there. I was with you, through that season as just a friend and following you guys around. And it was an incredible feeling that team had that year, of just kind of coming together and really having this one cause. It was such an interesting dynamic. Like, how did that change you as a coach, and maybe the players and the culture of your teams from there on out?
Well, I think for me it was okay. So that day happened. Now, okay, what am I going to do here for these kids? What do I need to do? So first thing I did was I got all the kids together in my program, JV, varsity, and parents, and we just had a meeting. And I think I became more of a leader towards young men, as opposed to more of a coach that was more of an off, like a more of a coach that was like, no, you're going to do it this way, and this is the only way. I become probably more understanding of kids' mental health, right? Because that's a huge thing nowadays, their mental health issues, and more understanding of some of the things that they're going through, as opposed to, in the old days, you can't come to practice, you're not playing. Nowadays it's more, working with them and understanding what they're going through, and just talking and being more of a father figure, I would guess, as a coach, instead of so much as that big brother who's always hammering you all the time. So I kind of wear a lot of hats, and actually I think I've really enjoyed coaching more, this way than I have. You don't have to curse at a player to get their attention. All right. So, and I've learned how to talk to players a little bit differently, and try to make everybody on our team, whatever their role is, to feel as they're as important as a starting guy. And I talked to them, in the past, the guys that didn't play, I wouldn't really coach up too much, or I wouldn't really talk to, but now it's, I got to get those guys that aren't to that level at least close to that, so we can be a well-oiled machine. So I've learned a lot of patience. I've learned just a lot about myself,
And that just comes from the experience and putting things into perspective in a life sense.
There's a lot more greater things in this world than winning a high school baseball game. And for me, it was always about, man, I used to take every loss to heart. I mean, I could replay a whole game to you, a year at a time. And now it's, I guess because I've had so much success, maybe, but I do have my own kids that have played for me, but it's more of like you say, it's just more the developmental piece. You can be a bench guy on our team and go play college baseball. I mean, I think that's how deep we are. And kids that believe in what we're doing stay in our program. So that says a lot about our coaches in our program too.
You mentioned you are a father of a couple of players, a couple of darn good players. The first one out was Hunter Fitz-Gerald, who was drafted in 2019 by the Colorado Rockies. He decided to go to college, ultimately is now moving from the junior college phase into Division I baseball in Florida. Why not go in the draft, right? That's going to be a big question, not necessarily for him, but in general, people say, well, you got this one opportunity, that door's open, go.
At that time or now?
Uh, True, it's really good he didn't at that time.
If he gets drafted this time, he's going. He's already
Okay.
going. So he's going if he gets drafted, no matter what.
Let's go back to 2019 pre-COVID. What's
Yeah.
the thought process as a father, as a family, saying, okay, draft versus we have an opportunity to go pro versus, you're going to go the junior college route and then move on up?
Well, number one, for me, it was more, is he ready to go out, right? Is he ready to go out and play 140 something games in the minor leagues? Is he ready to go out on his own? Is he mentally tough enough to go out on his own? Physically, yeah, he was a late bloomer. I still felt that there were some things that he needed to develop, and there are still some things that he needs to develop. But was he ready to go out? Was money a factor? Money really wasn't the factor. It was just a factor of is he ready to go out and compete at that level right now, or go get your education, which is so important, and develop over the next couple of years. Then let's see where we're at, from a mental side of it, not so much the physical side of it, but the mental side of it, and how you've grown as a player and how you approach things and understand the game and how you play the game. So those are some of the things that we really talked about as a family. He wanted to sign, but I wasn't going to let him sign because for me, I've been doing this a long time, I just didn't think he was ready to go out and do that,
Right. What would the old coach Fitz say 15 years prior? Would it have been the same thing, or have you learned watching guys go through this process? A lot of guys go through this, and kind of what would be the advice in general to prospects out there these days that are on the fence about that, like in your experience?
Well, I always think, this is what I tell kids: if it's not life-changing money, go to school. And 3 years from now, when you're draft eligible again, and it might be the last chance you get, if you want to sign, then go ahead and sign. But if it's not life-changing money now, go to school, get your education. You can always finish your education, but you can always go start your education. And, nowadays when you sign, they pay for your schooling anyway, and you have a certain amount of time to get that done. So, I'm a big school guy if you're not a top, 2-3 round guy.
Let's jump into the high school versus the travel thing. I think I get labeled as a high school hater, which is not the case. And I think you know that better than anybody, just because of, again, our friendship and me loving being a part of your program, coaching JV, coaching summer. My role is different now. I just look at things differently as to if a kid's goal is to get to college and that's his only goal, not to play in the powder puff game or not to be part of senior activities, what's the best route? You're in a unique situation. Your bench is ridiculous. It's you, Heritage, St. Thomas. I mean, there's a handful of programs in South Florida like that, but you also play some really bad teams where your last guy on the bench would be the best guy on the opposing team. How could you encourage a player? Like, what should we say to a player that's just in one of those zones whose school choice is not really an option because the schools are packed, and like the competition, the development, like it's just not there at other places? So like, what do we have to do to give those opportunities to kids so that they don't have to go to an academy or they don't have to leave high school baseball to find that developmental chance?
Are you talking about kids at my school or kids at other schools?
No, not at your school. Because at Douglas, you guys, here's the thing that I say a lot of times, I would rather a kid sit on the bench at a Stoneman Douglas than be the starter at, 8 out of 10 other teams.
There you go. That's what I tell them, because if you look around, and there's not a whole lot of coaching that's going on nowadays at the high school level. I think kids want to play. Parents want their kids to play. So is it the parent and the kid who want to play, or is it the kid who wants to fight and compete and get better, even though you're not a starter, and get better and develop and have an opportunity to go to the next level, or do you just want to go play and not get coached?
Right. So there's where my problem right now and my hang up
Well,
is. At Douglas, that's possible. At Douglas, you could be a guy who doesn't play at all, and you can get unbelievable college level reps every day in practice. And so it's totally worth it. Whereas at other programs, they maybe if you're at a zone for a high school that's booting ground balls, you can't even get a PFP and you can't roll a double play and get those reps. Like, how do we fix that? Is there any fixing that to?
I guess that's where the summer travel comes in for guys like that, right? My problem with the whole summer travel is, you know, now my travel program, we practice, but a lot of travel programs just show up, play tournament, go home, come back the next week, go play tournament, go home, come back. So what are you doing in that 7-day window to prepare yourself for the following week? Well, for us, we practice. So for other teams, it's you're $2,000 for the summer. We'll see you next week. You're on your own, train on your own. So that's where kids like that probably have to get some coaching on the side, try and find, a hitting guy or a pitching guy, and again, but also be realistic enough that am I just playing a game to have fun, or do I really want to be a college athlete? Even though you want to be a college athlete doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be able to be a college athlete. You just may not be good enough. But don't lose the love for the game, and don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do it. Do it for as long as you can.
Getting good coaches at the high school level is hard these days. And
Mhm.
it's not because there's a lack of knowledge out there. I think it's because there's a lack of money available out there. You're fortunate to have, like you said, a loyal staff that's been there, and you got Coach Hoff, who's not doing it for money at this point in his career. But you look at the younger generation, my generation, who came through as travel ball started up down there, and you had the original pokers and you guys in elite squad and all those teams starting up right there. All of us grew up saying, hey man, I would love to have a program like Fitz has and have a facility and run camps and blah, blah, blah. And then as we developed, our generation went on, it became, well, that doesn't make any sense financially when I could do private stuff on my own time, make way more money. It's become hard. We're losing good coaches to the high school game because of that. Do you see that as a problem, or?
Well, you don't coach for the money, right? So, nor do you teach for the money. So, I don't coach for the money. I coach for the joy of watching a kid develop over 4 years of time in our program and see what he can become. I coach because I love kids. I coach because I love the camaraderie of the team concept, right? You build lifelong relationships and lifelong friendships. That's why you coach. You don't do it for the money. Nowadays, I would tell a young guy, if you're wanting to get into coaching, stay in the college level as long as you can, or the pro side of it. If you want to be a high school coach, you need to get with a coach that's been doing it a while that can mentor you. But for you to go in as a head coach at a young age, nowadays, in the times that we're in, you're just setting yourself up for failure just because of the fact that the parents are relentless. I'm lucky enough to have at least a little bit of a resume to where, I can still control the parents on the outside and keep our team together. And I've got a great group of parents this year. So, but every year is different,
So I
and
guess I guess where I'm coming from though on that angle is because I'm a teacher also, and I'm at a school, and it's different when we're teachers inside the school with the boys and we have a career and we have the benefits. And, at that point, we don't need to grind it out and do lessons for 8 hours a night in order to pay the bills. What about those assistants that you're trying to bring in though? Like, isn't that hard to find? You feel like these days, like I feel like that's one of the issues that high school is facing, is being able to get the youth movement of coaches in there.
extremely hard. But however, if you have a good booster club who can give them a little something extra, or if you have if you have a good travel program that you can get them involved in where they can make extra, you know, um, they want to learn. They want as much as you can give them. Yeah, the money's not the end all end. I mean, they have other jobs too. They're just not a baseball coach. They have to be able to put food on their table and pay the rent. So they're doing other things, but they're creating time to be at your practice. So I wish we could give them more. I think we're underpaid and underappreciated in both sides. So it's tough. It's tough. You got to love it. You got to really love it.
How has high school changed for the better than it was 15, 20 years ago, the high school game?
Um, I think the level of competition, the schools that you play, like I try and play the best possible schools that I can play to get our guys prepared for the playoffs, obviously, and for the next stage in their life. I think high school baseball is dwindling a little bit just because of the whole academy travel circuit. You know, it gets me so frustrated when I have a kid that said, "Well, coach, you know, I give them the fall. Like when springtime comes, coach, I got to go try out for my travel." I said, "No, not on my time. That's from the fall. I give you your time in the fall. This is my time now. You're going to do things our way, you know." But you can't control what they do outside the playing field. You can only control them for the 3 hours that you have them. Whether when they leave you, if they go get a pitching lesson, you know, what are you going to do? Or if they go get a hitting lesson, what are you going to do? I mean, you know, you just, you hope that they believe in what you're telling them for the 3 hours that you're there. But whatever, you know, and it's really not the kid, it's the parent. The parent thinks that because they don't play 365 days a year, they're going to miss something. Somebody's going to go by them. I'm a big believer in strength training, and you have to strength train if you want to excel in this game. If you play 365 days a year, you're going to get passed up. You see all these phenoms, young phenoms, they just get passed by when they get when these young kids take time off and enjoy their lives and be kids. You know, they're hungrier to play the game. They're not worn out. They're not tired. They're hungry to play the game because they put time in the weight room and they've taken time away from the game.
I think that's one of the things that there's only so much you could do with weather around the country being different for everybody. But in South Florida or in the Southeast in general, I would love to see the high school season moved because travel is going to have to happen during the summer no matter what.
Sure.
And I hate to see these kids have to grind it out for their high school and then they have to go right into summer and then they're supposed to kick back and go to a couple camps right after that. Like you said, when do they get a break?
Well,
And then
go ahead.
and then well no and then you have this kind of this butting of heads between the high school season and the travel season. I mean, hell, you guys are about to make a run at states, and if you go through that, I mean, you're going to have guys missing the couple of big tournaments to start the summer, you know.
Again, I think that's for me as a high school coach, me coaching travel. I have 5 or 6 of my kids whose parents are all in and believe it 100% in what we're doing, and they know that we're going to take care of the kids. Like my number one guy, he's not going to throw for the first couple of weeks after the season. He needs a rest, you know. To go pitch in a tournament that's meaningless, no. I mean, you know, if it's a kid who's only thrown 20 innings for you all year, then he needs to go ahead and continue throwing throughout the course of the summer, and then you can shut him down in the fall. If a guy's thrown 60 innings, he doesn't need to throw another 5 innings here, 5 innings there, 5 innings there, all the way through the summer. 2-3 innings max, and that's enough. And then he can shut it down in the fall, you know. So the fall for us is really, you know, a couple practices a week, a lot of strength training, and maybe a game or two. And I've actually backed my fall up now until October 1st, just because of the PG Jupiter, the PG, the couple fall tournaments there that run into the early September, I think, August.
So what do you think of all these events that parents are running around and kids are paying to go to these days?
I think you need to really pick and choose the events that you should really attend and the ones that just to go play on the weekend. Like I'm so sick and tired of hearing people tell me, wow, he needs to get reps. He needs to get reps. You get 100,000 ground balls at practice every day and 1,000 swings. Like reps for what? Live pitching rep, like game rep? No, you don't. You have to get your tail in the weight room. You have to grind. You have to get stronger. You have to get physically stronger. Don't worry about the reps. Take time off. You don't need reps to go play on a weekend that means nothing. All it's going to do is allow yourself to get hurt. And you can lead them to water, but they're going to do what they want to do anyway.
Do you feel any pressure though, if you take the coach away from you as a parent with your kids coming up through like that, hey man, we're just going to do it because my kid wants to, and we love baseball and all his friends are doing it. Like, do you think that exists there too, where people are just feeling pressured to do it because everybody else is?
Okay, so let me be a dad, right? And I got a kid that plays baseball. Dad, can I go play this weekend? There's a tournament in Fort Myers. No. I mean, well, why not? Because you need a break. That's why. Go be a kid. Go play basketball outside. Go enjoy your friends. Go to the weight room. No, you don't need to play.
You're different because you're a coach, because you've been around a long time. Do you get the sense though that parents in general feel pressured to do this stuff?
I don't know that they feel pressured. I think they get brainwashed. More than that. I think it's they feel wanted when they're really not wanted. They're actually going to fill in because somebody else couldn't be there. They're going to jump on another team. So where does the camaraderie come if you're playing on 5 or 6 different travel teams? So you're a new face, and where's the camaraderie? There isn't. Where's the team concept? There isn't. You understand? So for me, it's about the team concept and building the team so that we have that camaraderie. And a team that plays together usually is a little bit more successful than a bunch of talented guys that are playing together. Give me a group of talented guys and give me a team, and we'll get you.
That's what I hear from college coaches about the high school game. Like there's an obvious change in the high school just realm of high school baseball for a number of reasons. But I mean, you just look back, like that was all you used to do. I mean, it's just like any other sport, any other activity. Like there was only one place to play, and that was high school. And now there's just so many other options that it waters things out a little bit, or waters them down a little bit. But college coaches always talk about exactly what you said. Like, we want a kid that we know knows how to be part of a team, knows how to make it through a season of not liking this guy on a bus ride, or this guy making errors behind him for 2 weeks. And we want that kind of kid. So although the other kid might be more talented by a little bit, the character that these kids are building at the high school level is something that you're not finding anywhere else except that level.
Right. I mean, how many times have you gone to a travel tournament and you've got all these high profile guys, and I'm big on uniform, and you got guys that are showing up to the ball field wearing sandals, earrings in air, hats on backwards. Like, if I'm a college coach, I'm unglued. Like, that guy is not the kind of player that I'm recruiting. I want the guy that comes off the field that's dirty, that's on and off the field in a hurry, that can handle failure, that can go 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and be the same guy that he was when he walked on the field this afternoon. That's what I'm recruiting. I'm not recruiting guys because they bump a 90 or they hit a 380-foot loud out, whatever that means. I'm so tired of hearing loud out. Okay. So bumping a 90, okay, bump a 90. Can you pitch? Can you compete? Can you get outs? That's what I want to know. Or are you a guy that just throws 90? Everybody wants to throw 90. What pitch? Yeah. And show me you can pitch.
Yeah, 90. I don't know. 90's like a high school diploma these days. Everybody's got one.
Yeah, when college coaches ask me, like, what's his velo? I'm like, how don't you want to know his pitchability? Like, I've never had a college coach ask me a kid's perfect game ranking. Never. They want to know, can he win force? Is he a clubhouse guy? Does he take care of his academics? And how's his character? And how's his family situation? That's it. And if they check all the boxes, they're probably good to go.
Well, the high school coach has always been the best reference over anybody else because you can attest to the character stuff, the talent stuff that we can all see that. You can't see what's happening though, how he's treating his girlfriend, in school and that kind of thing. So now at the same time, you are a travel coach. You do have a travel program. You
Yep.
do have, you had many kids who have been through the travel circuit down there and have benefited greatly from it. There's definitely it's weird because like everybody's friends in the baseball community, yet there is this weird tension between travel and high school. Is it, what is it for? What is it over?
I think it's over the fact that the certain travel programs or organizations are trying to poach your kids during their high school season, and I think that leaves a bad taste in the high school coaches' mouth, as opposed to let us have our time with these kids. You can have them in the summer. However, if they're with you in the summer, this and this and this needs to happen. This is what they can do. This is how many innings they can pitch. And I have some good relationships with some travel program organizations that I trust letting my guys go play for, and there's some that I try and strongly encourage my kids not to play for, but they're going to do what they want to do anyway. And then usually 8 out of 10 times they'll come back and say, that's the worst experience I've ever had. So there are some good organizations out there that do it the right way. And there are some that are just about trying to chase a trophy and bringing kids in and out. And, that's just not what we're about.
Do you think that these adults, whether high school or travel, have more of a responsibility to communicate regardless of how they feel? And I'll give you an example. And this, when I talked to Luzardo and we talked about his arm injury, and I said, is that over, usage? And he said he thinks it was usage. And I said, well, is that from elite squad or is that from Douglas? And he goes, it's neither. It's me not communicating what I was doing to them.
Right.
And then it got me to thinking, well, and that was in the early, that was quite a few years ago. Things have changed a lot in terms of what's happening, but it got me thinking, like, is the responsibility on the kid or is the responsibility on the adults to communicate better and not have this wall between them?
Well, I think it's the adults, the kids should always communicate with the coach. And Jesus was pretty good about that, but it was at Douglas. He was doing his training with another guy, a pitching guy, and then he would go play, and then he would do the All-America. He did a lot, probably more than he should have done, or more than he probably needed to do.
Yeah, and in fairness, he said that. He said it wasn't just travel in high school; it was all the other things I was doing.
Yeah. So I just try and dumb it down for my guys. Like, dude, if you're a guy, like a guy, then it's East Coast Pro, it's Diamond Club, and it's Jupiter, and that's it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to go to Arizona. You don't need to go to this thing. You don't need to go to that. Those are the three big ones. If you're a guy, it's going to be a guy. The summer's critical. That's when the college guys are out, and thank God they're able to come out now. I mean, I think for my school, it's more during the high school season. It's more on the pro side, right? We have draft pick guys. Most of our guys are committed throughout the summer, but it's those summer coaches that promote. That's the key word, that promote the kids to a college coach. So if I got a kid on the mound and I see Kevin O'Sullivan over there watching another game, I go to Kevin O'Sullivan and say, hey, man, you need to come look at this kid pitch, right? So it's about promoting your players also in a travel organization, but promoting them in the right fit for them. So, hey, you're not an SEC guy, but I got Dayton over here. I got Dartmouth over here. I got, Middle Tennessee State, that are interested. You're not an SEC guy, but this is a good fit for you. So if the parent buys into that and understands and knows that you have the best interest for their kid, then, they'll take advantage. But there's a lot of parents who don't listen to what the high school coach says.
What do you see?
I mean, what do I know? I don't know much.
What do you know? You're just a high school coach.
Just a high school coach.
Yeah. You bring up the idea of promoting players and helping your players get to the next level. There's only so much you can do. What's going to happen when the family doesn't like where you're promoting them or says, hey, you need to promote him here?
I'm not going to do it. I just tell him flat out, I'm not going to put my name on him because he cannot play at that level. Whether you like it or not, he's not good enough to play at that level. I want to promote my kids where they have an opportunity to go in and compete right away. When they go into a college program, they're ready, not to where they're going to go into a program and sit for 3 years. Who wants to do that before you get a chance to play?
So how do you educate your parents or your players on that so that you don't end up getting 2-3 years into the high school career and then them finding out like, oh, Coach Fitz isn't going to go to the ACC for me? So how do you educate them?
I educate the parents that want to be educated.
Pretty simple, straightforward. That's the end of answer.
Educate the parents that want to be educated. If they don't want my help, then that's fine. I've had kids that are on their own agenda and it doesn't work out. I've had kids that are on their own agenda and it does work out. I've had kids that I've promoted and it's worked out, and I've had kids that I've sent to places and it hasn't worked out for whatever reason. It happens. But all I can do with my knowledge and our coaching staff's knowledge is put our kids in the best possible position to send them off to a place to where they're going to be competitive and be able to contribute. Andrew Jenner, Winthrop University, perfect example, right? If that kid was 6'4", he'd be at any SEC school in the country. But he's at a Division I school. He's playing every day. He's in the lineup every day, first base, left field, and doing great. It's a great fit for him, and he's getting a great experience. And more importantly, he's going to graduate with a great degree and an education.
And he was told no by Division IIIs also.
Yeah.
And if they would have played a full season last year, he probably would have won conference freshman of the year.
One of the best first basemen I've ever had, next to Eric Oswald.
Because of your success, because of your resume, because of the people that you've been around, you have a lot of connections in the game to promote kids. Right. What about that newer, younger high school coach that's just coming up that, you know, how do they build those relationships? What do they need to do?
Well, I think number one, I'm a member of the National High School Baseball Coach Association and the ABC, but more so the NHBCA. It's a high school coach association. It's a national association. So I go every year to a convention, whether it's St. Louis, Arizona, whatever, to hear other high school coaches around the country speak, not college guys, but high school coaches speak about their programs and things they do. And you network and you get a feeling for you network and get their contacts, their college contacts, and say, hey, I got a guy, you know, you and your scouting before, I gave you my son, right? So you took care of my son and networked and promoted him through that. And through that, I've developed Stephen Crabtree at Florida Southern, Coach Gregory at Wingate, Coach Chester at Gardner-Webb, Coach King at Dayton, even some smaller schools, right? Coach Odette at St. Leo, Rudy Garvelosa at Lynn University, and the list goes on and on. So I think for a young guy, it's about getting involved in a coaching association and getting involved in that and going out and listening to other high school coaches talk about their programs and the things they do that you can bring back to your program, because we all steal from one another. So we all share ideas. We all trying to make our programs better. But listening just to high school guys, college guys, it's difficult sometimes. You go to the convention, sometimes you get big league if you're not a named guy, right? If you're not a named high school guy, you kind of get big league. Not on purpose, but it's just the way it is.
Well, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about. These, you know, younger high school guys who are just out of their element. They're not known. They're just some high school coach, you know, but
get involved in a National High School Baseball Coaches Association. If you want to get involved, reach out to me and I'll get you hooked up. It's a great organization from coaches from all over the country, Arizona, California, from the West Coast to the East Coast. It's a great organization. It's something to really be involved in.
What do you see the future of this level of baseball being? Is it going to turn into basketball in the AAU and, where soccer or golf? I know there's totally different types of sports, but like you think of USA Men's Soccer Academy, where everything's just gone away from high school completely. Like, what do you think the future of this level is?
The high school level.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that it's where it's at now and can get better and can be a perfect or a good marriage with the travel. But the travel organizations have to understand that they have to give us our time, just like, in the summertime is your time. Like, we're entrusting our kids with you. These are my kids. I'm loaning you my kids from my program, right? I expect you to take care of them. And that's why you got to find the right fit in the right situation.
I
You
think
know?
what you just said there, and it's not something I thought of before until you just said it. But I think that's a turnoff for people when a high school coach says they're my kids. And people say, well, high school coaches are possessive. But in thinking about it, they are. Like, you're the one who's at school with them from 7 o'clock in the
Every day,
morning until eight
every
o'clock at night. Like, you're the
I'm
one
with
who's
them.
dealing with their girlfriend problems and their F on their test and their this injury and that injury. Like, they are your guys.
Yeah, I'm with them more than their parents are with them. Like, I'm their guardian during the school day. At school, I'm their guardian for 7, 8. Let's see, 8, 9, 12 hours a day. So yeah, I consider them my guys, my kids. And take it however you want to take it, but I have the best interests of those kids in mind. And you can either ride that with me or do your own thing. I'm not going to shame you one way or another, but when you come back hurt, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I told you so.
Before we go, let's talk about one of the best players you've ever had, which is Jesus Luzardo. Um, when when I talked to him, I didn't know this about him because I wasn't coaching at Douglas when he first came in, but he said he was like a little pudgy kid. He said he was not good at all.
Right.
How did that kid develop into what he is today?
Well, I think number one, we threw him in the fire as a freshman because we knew he had something. We knew he was going to be special. Just a matter of when is that going to click. But every year it got better. The body got better. The strength got better. Every single year you saw growth in his development. His drive and his want to. Eric was the same way in the eighth grade. I made Eric play football. He was a pudgy kid, and he'll tell you. And then I woke up when he was a junior, and the guy was 6'4", 220, was a monster. Like, kids just develop when they're ready to develop. But they've always had that little extra it factor. They always had that little extra swag. They always had that little extra let's go. They always had that little extra switch when the lights turn on. Those are the guys that make it in this game. But they always stayed right here. Never here, never here. Humble as can be, giving, generous to the program. Eric still he didn't play at Douglas. He still gives to me in my program because of the respect that he had for his high school coach. I mean, what more can you ask for? That's why you coach. That you
Right.
coach for moments like that, to have players like that, and not
Right.
just big leaguers, guys that go off and make $1 million and come back and say, "Coach, I didn't get it then, but I got it now. Thank you." Or,
Right.
"Coach, you saved my life." Like, or you
Yeah. I
changed my.
mean, I
It's not everybody.
I know he wasn't one of you guys for long, but you look at Anthony Rizzo coming back to Douglas and building lights just because of what that experience in high school meant to him at the time. My Rob Friedman, pitching ninja, is an insane fan of Jesus. Can you give us one really good story that you remember? It can be borderline appropriate from coaching Jesus in high school when you're like, all right, this kid's on another level.
Yeah, I remember the day believe it or not, his going into his senior year, we were inter squadding, and him and Colton Welker are obviously really good friends, and they had always gone back and forth. So yeah, I think it was our first inter squad, and had like, I don't know, 8 or 9 scouts around the turtle. Colton said, "Well, let me get in the box." Everybody didn't want to get on Jesus. Well, Colton pieced him up for like back-to-back doubles. But with that being said, Jesus was 95, 96, you know. So, I mean, that just those two guys getting after it against each other and competing. I don't care what you say, and Jesus will tell you this, no matter what, if he ever faces Colton, Colton owns him. Jesus will tell you the same thing.
That's great.
Colton knows what Jesus is throwing before Jesus even throws
it. Are those the best hitter and best pitchers you've ever coached or seen live on a daily basis? You played up to a pretty high level yourself.
Yeah, Eric was pretty good. Eric, if I had a all-time lineup, I'd probably have Eric and Colton back to back for sure, and then I'd definitely have Jesus on the mound. I'd have Eric close it out. You know, he was 96, 98, so I'd have him close it out, and I'd have Jesus on the mound. And
how come I feel like you've written this all-time lineup out a few times.
A little Brandon Kaminer, Devin Marrero at shortstop, Colt Welker at third, Adrian Nieto behind the plate, Chad McDaniel is a DH probably somewhere.
Chad was at Missouri. Is he still there?
Yeah, I think he's still there as a senior.
I remember coaching him when he was, I don't know, 10 or 11 for a summer, and he was bigger than me already. He was just a monster. And it's funny because the talent was there, the maturity, obviously at 10, 11, you see these kids and how they act, and you're like, yeah. And then you watch them grow up to be grown men. And
Chad's the funniest human, the funniest human being I've ever been around. I could come to practice, Josh, in the worst mood, like heated, and he would either look at me or say something, and I just bust out laughing. He was the funniest human being I've ever been around.
Wait, it's got to be cool. It's got to be cool for you to be able to have not just that they're good players, but be able to watch them play for so long, you know, and watch them develop. Like Kobe Mayo right now, right? So he was picked third round last year, I believe it was. I remember it was a JV summer game. It's a story that I tell about how terrible of an evaluator I was here. And Kobe was batting with that bar arm, whatever, and he was an incoming freshman or something. I looked at him, I looked at you, and I go, that's never going to play. That's awful. You got to change that. And you just looked at me and you're like, let's go play. And that was about it. It was like my first year coaching with you. You just gave me that look like I'm an idiot. And sure enough, he's like the nastiest kid I ever saw come through a high school program. Yeah.
But again, another one that's just humble. You know, he worked out with us all spring before we started playing this year. Like, you know, those guys like that come around, you know, every so often, man. And for them to be part of that, and for your high school kids to see that, you know, a pro guy coming out and taking ground balls and BP with the team and running our bunt defenses and helping guys because he's been through it for so long, even though he hated it, you know, just says a lot. You know, it just makes you feel proud as a coach to be able to be around guys like that. There's so many, Josh, over time. I can't name them all, and nor could I try, but man, you know, I coach because I love it, and I love to win. And, you know, I think we try and breed a stable of champions, and we always talk about it. Winners don't take days off.
Finish this sentence. High school baseball needs more blank.
Needs more kids that trust the high school coach and believe in what the high school coach says.
Love it. The other one, high school baseball needs less
parents' involvement.
It's true. Both of those dead on. Coach Fitz, be easy, man. I'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate you having me. And at the end of the day, man, like I said, it's about the kids, you know, and just putting the kids in the right position to be successful. Are you going to do it to all of them? No. Are you going to have an impact on all of them? No. But the ones that really understand, and the ones that get it, and the families that get it, they're going to be okay. I believe there's a place for everybody to play, whether it's South Dakota, North Dakota, Alaska, wherever. There's a place if you're willing. Florida's not the only place to play college baseball. That's what these parents need to understand. There's some great, beautiful places in this country to play baseball. I played at Lincoln Memorial University, gorgeous place. Richmond, like beautiful. Western Carolina. I mean, there's places all over for kids to play if they're willing to commit to doing it.